Hello, fellow readers and booktubers. This is the March of the Mammoths tag. And this was an original tag. It was created by Jim at Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff. And Jim described the tag in this way. These are Jim's words. He says, the March of the Mammoths is a booktube event for promoting the reading of big books. A mammoth is a book of over 800 pages. Then he says further, I have created a tag for this event. It is not a mammoth tag by any means. There are just 9 prompts. I hope as many people will do this as possible, and so do I. In fact, I'm going to respond to the prompts, and then I will post the prompts down below, and also a link to Jim's site, and also I'll tag some other people. It just looked like kind of an interesting tag and kind of fun as well. So the first prompt is, are you currently reading a mammoth? I thought that maybe I was, and then when I looked at the book that I thought might have been a mammoth, it just fell short of the criteria that Jim set for a mammoth book. Has to be over 800 pages. This was the book. I usually have a couple of books going at the same time. It'll be a history, a philosophy, a biography, and a work of fiction. This was the fiction work. This is Robert Penn Warren's 1947 Pulitzer winner, All the King's Men. And it's a pretty thick book. And I thought, gee, I think I am reading a mammoth. But no, it's under 800 pages, so it doesn't quite meet the criteria. So the answer to the first prompt is no, I am not currently reading a mammoth. The second prompt, what is the biggest book you have ever read? In order to, I went on my Goodreads account. And I've been with Goodreads now for over 10 years. And they provide you with the stats year by year. And so based on that, the biggest book I have ever read were the complete essays of Montaigne, that great French thinker and philosopher. And this is what they look like. And this totals 2,077 pages. But then I thought that maybe because it's 3 volumes, does this count as a mammoth? Although Jim doesn't make the distinction, the implication is a mammoth is a book, it's all under one cover. So I looked at these 3 volumes, and the first volume of the complete works of Montaigne is 808 pages. So this counts as a mammoth, but it's just one volume of a 3-volume set. The second volume doesn't quite get to 800 pages. And the third volume is it's not the essays of Montaigne anymore. It's notes from the translator and from an expert in the essays of Montaigne who gives little critiques of each essay. So I think if you were a stickler about this, you would say, well, this isn't really a mammoth. This is 3 volumes, one of which is a mammoth, the other 2 not so much. So if you wanted to get nitpicky about it, you have to remove that one. And then the next book on my list of the longest books I have ever read would be The Anatomy of Melancholy by Robert Burton. Robert Burton was a contemporary of William Shakespeare. I've mentioned this book a few times before. I keep wanting to do a individual post on it, but I don't know where to start. It's a really unusual book. It's not a novel. It's not a work of philosophy. It's more a meditative collection of quotes and ideas and aphorisms about what it means to be a human being. And it comes in at 1,459 pages. Make a nice doorstop. But it is a wonderful work. So this would have to be the longest book I've ever read. Okay. Prompt number 3, what's the smallest book you've ever read? Again, going to my Goodreads account. I wasn't surprised to see that the shorter books I've read are always books of poetry. Excuse me. And the shortest of those was a very famous book of poetry by Allen Ginsberg, Howl. And you can tell that this was a publication of City Lights Books. It's got that very distinctive design, the black border, the white centerpiece with the title on it. This is not the original. This is clearly a reprint. I think if this were a first edition, when this came out in the 1950s, this would be probably one of the most valuable books I have in my collection, but it's not, it's a reprint. But nonetheless, it's very faithful to the original, Howl by Allen Ginsberg, and this is 57 pages. the shortest book I have ever read. I have other books of poetry that are 60 pages, 62, but this was the shortest of them all. Okay. All right, prompt number 4. By the way, I still haven't mastered all the wonderful little technological perks and things, or I would be editing out the cough. But I think it gives my posts a bit more authenticity. You're getting warts and all, as they say. The 4th prompt is the size of a book intimidating? No. Sometimes I'll look for a mammoth. The thing about mammoth books is that you can read them along with other books. And so the mammoth book will always be there on your reading table, sometimes for months, and it becomes like a friend. It's always there. You listen to it, or you read a little bit of it every day if you can. Sometimes another 100 pages, sometimes just another 50 pages or something. But the mammoth can become a friend, and you get to know it, and you get used to having it around. So is that intimidating to me? Not at all. I'll sometimes look for a mammoth book, provided it is in an area of study or in a genre that I'm interested in. Which brings me to prompt number 5. Is size a consideration when deciding what next to read? No, provided it's something that I'm interested in or it's a genre that I enjoy. If you're going to read a mammoth book, that requires a real commitment on your part. The mammoth book is going to be cutting into the time that you might spend reading other things. So the mammoth has to be a book that you're willing to commit that much time to or spend that extra time with. So, currently, I used to read a lot of science fiction, and I really don't so much anymore. I hardly ever read fantasy. A lot of science fiction and fantasy have kind of melded together into this strange genre. If there were a mammoth science fiction book, something in excess of 800 pages, that I would probably not look at, because it would just take away too much time from reading other things I'd be much more interested in. I have a very good friend who's a great fan of science fiction, and once in a while I'll turn to him for a recommendation. And a couple things I've noticed: a lot of science fiction now seems to be the books seem to be part of a series. I prefer standalone books. I've read a few science fiction books that were standalone that are recent, and quite frankly, I was a little disappointed. They usually deal with time travel, which is something I think has been done to death, or they deal with some dystopian future or something like that. In fact, this good friend of mine says it's always these dystopian things, and which sounds, if not tedious, certainly a little depressing after a while. And if a book about a dystopian future or about time travel is in excess of 800 pages, that's asking me to commit an awful lot of time and energy into something that I'm just not that interested in anymore. So the prompt was, is size a consideration when deciding what to read next? It depends on the genre. If it's a science fiction book, 300 pages, 250 pages, yeah, I'll certainly take a look at it. As far as mammoth books go, no, not so much science fiction, or certainly not any fantasy. I'll read a mammoth book if it's in a genre or dealing with a topic that's of interest to me. How many pages long is the book you are reading now? Let's go back to this one. This is the longest book I'm reading at the moment, All the King's Men, and it is 642 pages. I think I might do a separate post on this when I finish it. I've really just started it. I'm only a little over 100 pages in. It's really good. It won a Pulitzer in the 1940s for a reason. I think they made it into a movie. It seems that the central character here might have been based on Huey P. Long. I think he was. Huey P. Long was a real person. He was a politician in the 1930s. He ran against FDR for the presidency. He was a demagogue. He was a corrupt, a loudmouth. I don't know how to describe him. Promising tremendous things, making all kinds of claims for himself. and he was from Louisiana. He had been governor of Louisiana. He got assassinated, though, during his run for the presidency. His assassination really had nothing to do with his politics, though. He had just upset someone. I think it was his brother-in-law or something like that, or the brother-in-law of someone he had upset. Anyway, I think the main character in this book is based on Huey P. Long, which makes it even more interesting. But this is the biggest book I'm reading at the moment. According to our friend Jim, it does not meet the qualifications for a mammoth. Let's see. And then prompt number 7. What's the average length of the books you read? Somewhere between 300 and 350 pages, which seems to be the average length for most books, I've noticed, particularly fiction. I don't know how that came to be. I think it's just, one of those unspoken, agreed upon things among authors that, that's about the attention span of a typical American reader now. If a book goes beyond 350 pages, I think publishers get a little nervous. So the average length of the books I read, I think, is the average length of a typical publication today. Then we get to prompt number 8 and prompt number 9. And Jim does an interesting thing here. Up to this point, when he talks about mammoths, he's talking about big books in excess of 800 pages. But in prompt number 8 and 9, he goes back to referring to mammoths as the actual woolly mammoth, the creature from a previous age. Prompt number 8, do you think humans will bring back mammoths from extinction? I have no idea. I know all about the DNA business. Of course, I know the Jurassic Park story, but that's fiction. But scientists are in the lab, and they're messing around with, fossilized DNA, I think is what they call it. And apparently there should be a method where they can kind of create or bring back extinct life forms. Occasionally you'll see a headline where they come close to doing that, or they'll bring back something on the molecular level. Hopefully it'll get something to help me cure this cough. But it doesn't seem like they've brought back anything, any complex life forms, some giant beast that might go lumbering out of the lab. So do I think humans will bring back mammoths from extinction? We seem to be heading in that direction where that technology will be available, but I don't think it's here yet. I'm not certain that it will be, but it could be. Then number 9, do you think they should bring back mammoths from extinction? No, I don't think so. I don't think anything that's extinct should be brought back. It's extinct for a reason. Now, I know that the human race bears some culpability in hunting certain life into extinction, which is terrible. It makes people feel bad, but who's to say that's not part of the purpose of the human race, to wipe out certain life on the planet? It sounds grim. I'm sure I'll hear from some people in the comments section, but I think if something is extinct, there's a reason that it's extinct, and it should stay extinct. Number 10, tag some people, which I will do. But anyway, those are my responses to the prompts for the March of the Mammoths tag that was created by Jim. This has been fun, and that's all I've got for you today. Take care of yourselves, keep reading, and enjoy the rest of the day. It's getting very cloudy here in Chicago. They're predicting some storms, and then after midnight, we're going to get they're predicting another snowstorm, even though it's the middle of March, but such is life in Chicago. Anyway, that's it for now. Take care of yourselves.